Hi there, I'm going to use SPSS to generate some frequency tables, specifically a basic frequency count, a relative or percent frequency, and cumulative frequencies for ordinal and nominal variables. The data set I'm going to use is the General Social Survey from 2006, which was a survey conducted in the United States asking people's opinions on a number of social issues. You can see there were a total of 50 variables covering a range of questions about social concerns, and we have responses from several thousand individuals. I'm going to start by looking at a variable called AB single, which is the response to the question not married. In this case, a no response means no, I am not married. Disagreeing with the statement not married, so that means you're married. Saying yes to not married means you are single. Confusing, I know. So to analyze this variable, we come up to analyze descriptive statistics, and we'd like frequencies. I've already got the variable over there, but to move it over there, you would just find it in the list of available variables, press this arrow button, drag it, or even simply double click it, and it moves over to the variables to be analyzed. We say OK. SPSS generates its output in a separate output window that pops up immediately as you request the data. Gives the commands that were executed to generate your request and then the actual output from your request. To note down here, since this was a survey, we had a number of people that failed to respond. So you see that of the 4,510 people, total people, only 1,936 people gave a valid response, and just over 2,500 individuals failed to give a valid response. We're going to look at just the responders in this case. So down here in the frequency output, you see the valid responses were yes or no, and the frequency of those responses were 777 individuals said yes, 1,159 said no, for a total number of responders of 1,936. Percent breaks down all of the different responses, yes, no's, and the various categories of missingness. And the valid percent contains the relative frequency or the percent frequency only for the people responding. So out of the 1,936, 770 people responded yes, that's 40.1%. The 1,159 out of 1,936 is 59%. So remember the curious nature of this question. This says that no, they disagree with the statement not married. So this means that 60% or 59.9% of the individuals in the study responded that they were married. So they were not single. Whereas 40.1% were single. I think I may have said that backwards. The cumulative percentage is, of course, adding up the percentage in a particular direction. In this case, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because there's not a particular direction to go, and we only have two categories. So the critical one is that 40% are single, and 59.9% are married. Let's take a look at an ordinal variable. I'll close this window, and we'll look at the highest degree, the respondent's highest school degree. Analyze, come up to descriptive statistics, request frequency. We don't want this not married variable anymore. We want respondent's highest degree. Now we have, in this case, many more respondents. We have only 3 individuals missing a response to this question. So in this distribution, you can now see all of the categories of responses. They completed junior high school, essentially, or elementary school, high school completion, a junior college, a bachelor's degree, or some graduate degree. You can see the frequency of each of these categories out of the total number of responders of 4,507. And then moving over to the valid response, out of all of the responders, you can see that just over half have a high school degree. Now in this case, the cumulative percentage does make some sense if you move down the list in terms of number of years of schooling completed. You can now see the cumulative percentage. The people that have completed a bachelor's degree or lower or less school is 91.1%. The number of people that have completed high school or less is 65.8%. So that's simply creating the frequency, a percent frequency, and cumulative frequency from a set of data. Let's now look at a cross-tabulation of these two variables. So we come up here to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and come down to Crosstab. So I would like the marital status in the column, and I would like the highest degree completed in the row, and that's simply just because there's more categories for highest degree, so I want that going up and down. Once we've selected the two variables that we'd like to look at, we can select the percentages that we might like to see in that table, and we can select either the row percentages, so the total out of each row would be calculated for each cell, the total for each column, or the total overall. In this case I'm going to select all three, and we can see what they all mean separately. Again, the output window. The first thing when you do a crosstab is it gives you the percent of respondents responding to all of the questions. So now when we first looked at the total number of respondents to the not married question and to the highest degree question separately, now we have to look at the number of people that responded to both. And we now have that only 1,936 responded to both questions out of the 4,510 individuals. Going down to the actual cross-tabulation, it is an extensive table because there are a lot of different categories. But let's look at one cell to start with. So the number of people that were not married. So these are the single individuals. You can see that there were 63 people who were both single and completed only below high school out of the 276 total individuals that did not complete high school. That you can see then the percentages, the percent of people that did not complete high school. That breaks down into 22.8% of those are single and 77.2% of those are married. If you want to so that is the row percentage. That uses this total of 276. So 63 divided by 276 gives you 22.8%. The percent with not married, so the percent that said yes, not married, that's the column percent. It adds up the total number of people who are single and gives you the percentage. Similarly, the total number of people who were married and the percentage of people who didn't complete high school. So this is basically saying of all the people that said that they were married, 18.4% of them did not complete high school in this sample. The percent of total says 11% out of everybody with a valid response, which remember up here is 1,936. 11% of all of the individuals are both married and did not complete high school. If you look down at the bottom, you now have a total across all of the different categories of schooling, and now you can see that there are 777 people who were single, 1,159 people who were married. Similar breakdown to what we saw in the univariate analysis. Here you can also see of the people sorry, this is still the row percentage, so this is the total number of people, and this is the same percentage as we saw before. The column percentages therefore add up to 100%. This row also tells you the total percentages, which is going to match the row percentages because this is the row total here is also the total. You can see with a graduate degree, less than 5.7% of people, less than 9% of all people are in this row, but 5.7% of all people are both single and have a graduate degree, while 3.3% of people are married and have a graduate degree. So on. You can go on interpreting these percentages as you wish, and you can see the differences between interpreting the row and the column percents.